You know, one of these days I'm gonna get better at figuring out how to start a stream properly, but that day is not today. So, well, hello to everybody that was waiting. Wow, I'm actually kind of surprised to see that there were people there. But tonight I was just gonna run my normal evening run, which I do with a friend here. We mostly go through bond dungeons and dimension halls. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So there you go. Now, I don't really like the music in game, so tonight I was also going to try playing the music that I normally listen to while I've been playing games. And if you've seen any of the recent videos, you know that what I've been listening to is the Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack, so I hope you don't mind. I was just going to put that on. Let me know if it's weird audio or something. It's I don't usually have music in the background, so this is new for me. I did set it pretty quiet, so it shouldn't be too annoying if you're not a fan. But it's really what I do. You know, you replace the video game music with other video game music. So basically, I try to run a whole bunch of dimension halls on all of the characters that I'm currently interested in leveling up the class for, and we go from lowest to highest. But not everybody's got gear, so we just struggle through the first couple. Actually, this is probably the worst one. And of course, characters that aren't S10 can't run the bond dungeon, so that's all here. Anubis. She's really pretty. I kind of wish I had the opportunity to get her, but she wasn't on the regular Paragon. Yeah, the first dimension hall requires a lot more accuracy than the other ones. That's why when I made the video for the stats, my Lancer here had a pretty big issue with the being able to actually hit the targets there, but she's not too bad now that we're at S5. So yeah, for the first two, we just run the Dimension Hall, because not high enough level to go into the Bond dungeons, but after that, I run the first Bond dungeon on every single character I can. And yeah, the reason why the Dimension Halls give you the most experience is a mystery to me. Honestly, I wasn't entirely sure about it. What they had in mind making the Bond dungeon, or sorry, the Dimension Halls so significant in terms of your daily experience. But like, around S level 1, you can get 5% per day, easy. And compared to how much you get for running a dungeon, that's a lot. And I try to use a quest book on every single one, but I don't always remember. Alrighty, now here's where we switch over to starting to do Bond dungeons. And one thing I don't think I've mentioned in any of the videos is that the Bond trophies are not affected by drop charms. So I guess keep that in mind if you're running the Bond dungeons. I'll show you when we're inside. but anything listed as an extra drop at the very bottom, it shows as a separate category, they're not affected by the drop charms. And another thing I didn't mention in the walkthrough is something you might have noticed after you've done these statues for quite a while. You can actually predict what the answer is supposed to be without talking to your partner. Once you figured it out, you don't even need to communicate at all. You can just each to your own side and call it a day. Will it show here? No, we'll have to wait until it triggers. Alright, so when you're looking at boss drops, anything in the extra item info is not affected by drop charms. So you have to get lucky. But using a drop charm isn't going to improve your chances. So I check my drop log to see if my friend here is getting it absurdly lucky again. Oh, I would be so upset if he managed to get one and I didn't. Again. Would be 8 in a row if he does. Oh, I'm getting whispers. I made the chat really, really small so that it would fit behind everything, but I can barely read it. I've heard that the Tachi buff significantly changes it to the point that you can't really play it as Storm anymore, but I don't know how far away we are from that. You know, a while back, and that was like end of 2023, they announced that the adjustments for it was Guardian and Grenadier were coming, but sometimes when they say something's coming, they mean like next week, and other times they say something's coming and it's still not here, so I don't know when to expect that, but I've still got the notes about all the changes on my desktop for the day that it gets dropped. And this is basically how I farm LP nowadays. And yes, you can attack the sprites, but they respawn immediately. You only get a moment of being able to pass by them. But yeah, for my side, each of the statues, you just slide them one to the right, and you'll get the right output, even if you don't have to check with your partner about what it is. But I always run this side, so I don't know what the answer is on the other side. But yeah, I find this the easiest way to farm LP since I've got someone that'll run them a bunch with me every day. Plus you get a bunch of dragon coins for the Dragon Paragon. I don't know when they're planning on changing that, but I recently spent a ton of Dragon Paragon coins. I did like 600 rolls trying to get those packs for the Eidolon Den. Oh, I see. My partner here was just saying that on the side of the first Bond dungeon that I don't do, you just need to swap the statues on the first and second spots So you can complete the first dungeon using telepathy now. Or, you know, logic, whatever you want to call it. It's actually kind of embarrassing how long it took for me to notice what it was on my side. Because my friend here, they figured it out pretty quickly what the trend was for their side, but it took me a lot longer before I realized how I could beat it without having to ask. And not all my characters have all gear on them too, so it's really time consuming to run some of the other Bond dungeons, especially the ones that have the more tough bosses. So we only run the first Bond dungeon on everything except our best characters, which obviously for me is my bow. But I've got a lot of characters. I actually wonder if they're going to add in new character slots for when they adjust the Grenadier and Guardian, because they're going to change a lot about the classes. And I don't really want to have to restart. I don't know, do I want to have 21 characters? 22? Sometimes a camera gets stuck on the houses around here when you're trying to see the boss at the same time, because when he becomes vulnerable, he changes over for a moment. You'll see his you'll see the model kind of change over a little bit. Yep. No questions today so far, though. I mean, it is just Dimension Halls in the first Bond dungeon. We run all of them on the last one. I think I'm currently working on getting... Like, obviously I'm leveling up all of these characters very slowly, all one Dimension Hall at a time. But the main class that I want to work on next is getting my Duelist to S20 and my Ravager to S10. And I actually did my Ravager Dimension Hall earlier, so that's why you didn't see me on her today, but... After that, I think might want to do Nunchuck, because, I mean, pretty close to 15, but I really like the idea of having another ice class, especially since I've got the Santa Eden there ready to go. Yep. Sometimes it's hard to target players on this hill to invite to party. And I'm pretty sure the duelist role will make you invulnerable to the debuff from those guys. If you're careful. I guess it's somersault, sorry, not roll. Yeah, you have to time it right. The window of invulnerability is pretty slow, or pretty small. And now we're on to Dimension Hall 15, which is not significantly different from the last one. What percent am I at? Right, now if I'm smart and I use enough things to build up butterfly dances, there's a chance we can one-shot the final boss. Or he can. I really think that Duelist has the highest potential one-hit nuke. It's just that it's got a lot of build-up that you need to have in place. Oh, hello, Anime Master. Right now, it's S35, which is the equivalent of 135. I've only got one character at cap level, which is the very last one I run on. You're gonna see all my characters in a moment. So yeah, my only my warbow is at S35. Yeah, it's been raced a couple times. I was actually really surprised how they put it up to S35, because I think they've been releasing the patches out of order for us compared to Taiwan. And I'm actually concerned that that's causing some of the glitchier issues that we're dealing with, especially in late game. But it is nice that they're trying to get us content faster. E. W. She's still got fancy charms. But we're out of quest books. So I actually recently changed up my costume on my wizard. So if you look at some of the older videos, you'd see I'd had her in the same costume for like years, I think. But I got this one off Paragon not too long ago, and I thought it really matches the, like with the light colors, it really matches my icy vibe. So I ended up transitioning into it. Hello, Siren, and I'm glad that it was helpful. It actually got a lot more views than I was expecting, so I'm hoping a lot more people are going to be able to get their gold fortified and ready to rock and roll soon. And Anime Master, the best class. Kind of depends what you're going for. A lot of people still stand behind Lancer as being one of the best classes because Hymn of Doom can proc so many things on every single hit. And I don't disagree. But my Lancer is pretty weak because I haven't bothered leveling her up all the way. A lot of people will vote for Chibi nowadays, the Starcaller, which is actually the next class I'm about to switch to. And I definitely agree. But Starcaller is kind of a little bit weaker in terms of gathering up mobs as you run through dungeons. Very, very strong. Like, Nebula is an amazing skill, especially since basically all of it is concentrated in lightning damage. Personally, I think people are kind of sleeping a little bit on Whip because it's got similar to Lance. It's got a huge skill that does a bajillion hits that all can proc dual drives. And then on top of that, it's got a triple strike effect in its Blood Rush release. So I think people are kind of sleeping on it and haven't really tapped into its potential yet. Still not very good at gathering up mobs, though. I recently changed my costume on my chibi too because I got this cute hair. I actually got the hair because it was on the trends and I wanted some experience bonus, but because it looks so adorable, I think it was worth it. You know, if I had to say one thing that I really dislike about the chibi class is that the costume weapons... Oh, someone just reminded me that Wizard is ridiculous now as well, and actually that's true. I've been leveling up my Wizard. Thanks for whispering me, X-Book. Anyway, what I was about to say is that the costume weapons for chibi don't actually affect what it looks like in-game. Like, once you're in combat, it doesn't matter. Your hammer and your cannon both look the same. And it looks like my friend here already turned in the Dimension Hall on their character, so I have to get 3 keys. Or is it just lagged out? Oh, no, I was just not paying attention. Yes, congratulations, you're famous, X-Book. Thanks for watching. They're whispering me in my window here that I've got hidden underneath my table. You know, I actually didn't modify the table from my last stream, so I've still only got the 1 tier statue. I should have put in more. Actually, while I'm... Let's add 1 more tier statue. Why not? There we are. Now it's a little bit better. And guns! Guns! I actually was leveling guns for such a long time because I wanted to try playing PvP guns. But, I get scared in PvP, okay? I've actually got a relatively not terrible PvP set going on, but I get scared and my heart rate spikes too high. See, I mean, it's fortified and everything. But I just get too nervous. Maybe I'll try again. I suppose my other option is to level up my my wizard to the point that I can use all this gear that I've prepared and use her in PvP. Since everybody's talking about how the new meta is Wiz in PvP. I got someone whispering that to me, as well as the people were discussing it in the Discord the other day. Ooh, I don't have a charm on. I think I've forgotten charms on a lot of the bosses so far, but... You can get the second key this time. I'm realizing right now that I forgot my water in the other room. Great job, me. Oh well. We're not almost done. Sorry, my friend here is complaining or telling me that they reminded me to get my water, and we're almost done, but it's not true. We're not almost done. We're actually about halfway done. So that's actually me leaving a dimension hall before it's even finished. Oops. Good job. I am a professional. PvP lagging. I'll be real with you. The only PvP that I've done recently is, what do you call it? Divine Trial. And of course that's still broken. You get to punch people out instead of transforming into Eidolons like you're supposed to. Holy versus Evil is the other battlefield that doesn't require any gear, and I don't know about lag for that one, because I haven't done it in a while. But then, like, Excelsior Arena, that was the one that I was trying to do on my guns. And I never had an issue with lag in there. But yeah, so from here, we're gonna run... Oh, archive lag! Actually, I haven't thought about that in a long time. It's been fixed. In the past, when you played with players that had a large number of Eidolons in their archive, it would cause you to lag more and more every time you entered a dungeon, or entered a different instance, or changed map. But that's been fixed for sure. Anyway, so after half an hour of just doing dimension halls, now we're gonna run every single Bont dungeon as efficiently as possible, and it usually takes about half an hour. Depending on how cruel the Cadilla Fellwood one is to me. Moles. Ah, I aggroed them. The thing Wizard has going for it is that it's got 100 extra crit rate cap, or crit damage cap, sorry, compared to any other class. So just by default, it's got a much bigger capacity for damage. I don't know that it's really complicated to master, especially since they've simplified the etches system, so you can more effectively get all of your etches to release. That's where you use one of each elemental skill and then use the release skill to get your etches. And now that it's not RNG which etch you get, it's actually a lot easier to play. Okay, these guys. I always take out Gaze first because he's annoying. This guy is a little bit easier to avoid his attacks. And again, if you look at his drops, the bond trophies are in the extra item info section, which means that using a charm doesn't increase your chances of getting them. And please don't bug me about how messy my inventory is. Next is Candia? Honestly, I think the guide video I made for this one was the hardest to follow. Because I was trying to explain out loud about how you're doing the cubes. But once you get in the flow of it, you're really just following the lights. Best class to combo with Wizard? I'm sorry, but it's a boring answer. The answer is Bard. Bard is just an amazing subclass for basically everything. Especially since Wizard's Cleanse is now full party, there's not even really a great argument for why you'd want to use something like Source as a subclass. Guard sub. I mean, I guess if you want to roar for your party members, you can go guard sub as well. But if you're primarily focused on doing damage, you're gonna want to choose Bard sub. And it's not even about the heals so much as it's about the fact that every time you use Ballad, you're buffing yourself. Your detail damage. So yeah, when I made the guide video for this, I think I made it more complicated than it needed to be. Because you are basically just following the fire around the cubes. And then on this half... by the power of Persephone, one player can get both the... they can use the item that they get in the next zone, as well as the orb for locating, and do all the work while I just sit here and do nothing. 10 out of 10 live stream, standing around doing nothing while the exciting thing happens. Over here. So, trivia. I actually took the screenshot that I used for making my VTube model while I was sitting here waiting for my partner to finish doing the rest of the dungeon. And that's kind of why the skin tone is so pale, is because the light at the time was a little bit odd. Alright, I suppose I can try and do the run. Nope, he made it. As you can see, I contributed so much to this dungeon. I deserve to get a bond trophy this time. Although, my LP is actually a little on the low side, so maybe I should be using charms. Yep. As usual, no. Alright, next up is Titan's Root. I really wish there was a category for the Bond dungeons so they could all be side by side, but eh. Wrong Eidolon. And once you get comfortable on this one, like especially if you're running with the same person on a daily basis, it is pretty it's not too hard for them to get into a flow of how fast you need to go across those spots. But you can also watch on the mini-map. It's just got a little bit of delay. And if you jump, you can break the little route when you're done setting the bomb. That way you can get out of the way faster. Because you will be one shot with these bombs. And for this section, there's a secret achievement the first time you complete it by killing all of these little moles before they wake up. And as long as you kind of plant them in between these pairs, the way I'm doing it, you've actually got at least one mistake worth of time to plant more bombs. But I've done it so many times now I'm perfect. I never make mistakes. I definitely didn't get killed yesterday because I didn't evacuate the bomb zone fast enough. And then here. Next up, Cadilla Fellwood. This is actually the last hard one, I'd say. Because sometimes it's not very, right when we try to answer the questions. For a while, we had an issue with the blonde and the red moles, and then it was fixed. And now we seem to be having issues again. Because it's definitely not that I'm counting wrong. Couldn't be. So the first thing I do every time I start this one is I go around and I try and count the moles right away. So 1 black mole, 1 tan, okay, we got 1 deer, and that's it. Oh yeah, and I did mention it in a comment on my guide video, but the boss before the boss will eat your charms if you use them before you fight. So don't use a charm until after you've passed that first bossy boss thing. How many statues in the room is our current question, but it's not actually asking for the total number of statues, it's asking how many different statues. So we've got a lion, it's a wolf, a deer, and that's a wolf. And that's another lion, so lion, wolf, and deer, meaning 3. Sometimes the wolves and the bears look similar if you're not really close up. Or maybe that's just me. Oh, you better transfer. It's 74 miasma. So, if we don't get the transfer over, we'll be kicked out pretty quick. And, yes, Persephone can halt the miasma, but she can't clear it. I haven't tried, the potions to see whether or not the potions will clear it, but I'm pretty sure we tried other Eidolons that will actually clear debuffs and they didn't work. Oh, I didn't even see I got the next question. Blue ore that doesn't drop items, and white ore that does. So that's 1. I think that's all for blue ore, so now white ore that does drop. Not that. Is it just gonna be 1? I don't see any more ore. Oh, apparently my friend here has tested specifically. Cleansing potions will not work. Alright, and then I judge in this section whether or not the correct thing has happened by the MISC chat. If you get the notice that says the magic circle is triggered, you're good to go. That was actually a pretty good run. We didn't get too much difficulty with the questions. It didn't even ask about the moles. Oh. And then from here, I just need to unlock the ingredients for my partner by following their directions on which circle to stand on, followed by the most important part of this dungeon, which is singing Happy Birthday. Because the rules say that you have to sing it out loud or it won't work. And then someone immediately leaves the video because I'm about to sing. Alright, now we're at the important part. Happy birthday to you. I don't know how singing would work on the microphone with the way that I've got the filter set up, so I hope that didn't hurt anybody's ears. Alright, and now we're safe to use a charm. If I can get it used in time, there we go. And we're on to the final Bond dungeon, which is Dawn Passage. And it's also the easiest and the fastest. But since they've added in new higher level Otherworld dungeons, you just gotta make sure you select the right one when you're getting there on a high level character. I'm actually impressed that I managed to avoid going to the wrong dungeon every single time this so far. W. D. And hey, we made actually pretty good time. Usually it does take about an hour for all my evening runs. But we cut 2 dimension halls today. Yep. And I'll give it a pass on a charm today. For this one. Then to finish it off, I'm still missing some of the titles for the Dimension Hall 20. The ones that you can get with the crystals. I'm still missing a couple of these. So to finish it off every night, since it doesn't really matter for this character, usually run a Dimension Hall 20. And because it's a low-level Dimension Hall, even if you don't have a friend, you can run these yourself, opening up every single one. So if you're farming those titles, you can do it on as many characters as you like, and you don't have to get a party. Oh yeah, and the chests that you get for completing the Dimension Halls below level S1, yeah, 95 and down, they have a chance to drop login patches if you're missing any of your logins, which, I mean, I'm not missing any because I don't forget to log in. But Scrub sure is missing a bunch. Wow, I'm missing so many on Scrub. But yeah, you've got a chance to get a login patch. But more importantly, I'm after those dimension crystals for the titles. I've got a bunch in my warehouse too, so I'm not that low. But yeah, that's it. Every single day, that's the run that I do to keep all of my characters going. And I already ran the special event here today. But, oh, one other thing. In one of the most recent patches, they've actually increased the items that can go into the warehouse. The costume archive. They added a whole bunch of the event costumes to the costume archive. So if you've got a bunch in your warehouse that are just taking up space in your costume the costume tab, make sure to check to see if you can put them into your warehouse now. Because even some things like some furniture from old events that weren't allowed in there are now allowed in there. So it'll be super helpful if you're still working on getting your collection rate up enough to get your final collection reward, which obviously, because I love clothes, I'm already maxed out. But something to keep in mind, because that was a relatively new addition. But yeah, otherwise, a little bit faster than I anticipated, but that's about it. Thank you so much to everybody that joined us, and I guess we'll see you next time. Let me know about the what you thought about the music in the comments too, because like I said, this is my first time doing this kind of thing. Good night!